So you spot a water stain. Your first thought is probably, great, another mess to clean up. But what's really happening is that a clock just started ticking, a very, very fast clock. The real problem with a leak isn't the puddle you can see, it's what happens totally unseen in the first 48 hours. So let's break down exactly why that window is so unbelievably critical. So what really goes down in those first 2 days? Well, think of it like a silent invasion. While you're just noticing a small spot on the ceiling, water is already working its way deep into the bones of your home, setting the stage for huge problems that go way beyond a simple cleanup. And that's because you're not just fighting a leak anymore. You are, quite literally, in a race. A race against your home's structure swelling up and getting weak. A race against contamination from whatever that water brought with it. And, the big one, a race against mold, which is basically just waiting for an invitation to show up. And this really gets to the heart of the problem. You know, the biggest threat from water damage isn't the puddle you can easily see and mop up. Nope. It's the water that just vanishes right into the structure of your home. So let's say you see a small, kind of faint water stain on the drywall. You might think, it's no big deal. But behind that wall, the reality can be catastrophic. Your insulation has probably turned into a giant saturated sponge. The wood framing is soaked through, and that moisture is already seeping down into the subfloor. That little stain is just the tip of a very, very destructive iceberg. So how in the world are you supposed to spot an enemy you can't even see? Well, luckily, your house starts to give you clues. You might notice this persistent, musty smell that you just can't track down. Or maybe you see paint or wallpaper starting to peel or bubble for what seems like no reason. You might even see your baseboard starting to swell and pull away from the wall. Even your beautiful wood floors can give it away by starting to buckle or cup. You gotta know, these aren't just minor cosmetic things. They are screaming alarm bells. Okay, let's get back to that ticking clock, because honestly, this is the most important part. In the world of water damage, every single hour matters. The second that water gets in, a destructive chain reaction kicks off. And the way things escalate is just shockingly fast. I mean, within minutes, water is already spreading out, seeping under your baseboards. Within just a few hours, it's wicking its way up the drywall and soaking deep into wood and insulation. But the real deadline, the point of no return where a simple cleanup just isn't an option anymore, that arrives somewhere between 24 and 48 hours. And here it is. This is the number. If you remember anything from this, remember this. 24 to 48 hours in a humid, damp spot, that is all it takes for dormant mold spores, which, by the way, are literally everywhere all the time, to wake up, find that wet surface, and start to grow. After this point, you don't just have a water problem anymore. Now you've got a mold problem. Okay, so you might be thinking, where does all this water even come from? Well, the sources are usually the everyday things in our homes that we totally take for granted until they break. First up, you've got the big one, right? Storms. A really intense downpour can just completely overwhelm your gutters and drainage. Suddenly, water is pooling up against your foundation, finding tiny little cracks to get in, or it finds one weak spot on your roof and just pours in. This isn't some gentle drip. It's a deluge that can soak huge parts of your home fast. Then you've got the enemies hiding inside your own walls. A supply line to your dishwasher just gives out, a pipe bursts, your water heater finally fails. These aren't drips either. These things can dump hundreds of gallons of water in a super short time, and it often spreads through multiple rooms and even floors before you even know it's happening. And let's not forget two other really common culprits. They're pretty different, but both are just as nasty. A clogged AC drain can cause this slow, steady leak inside a wall or ceiling that you might not notice for weeks, creating the perfect hidden jungle for mold. And then there's sewage backup, the absolute worst case scenario. It's not just water, it's dangerous contaminants that are a serious, serious health risk. Okay, so that's the problem. It's fast, it's destructive, and a lot of the time it's hidden. So how do you fight back? Well, there's a systematic, professional playbook for taking control of all that chaos. So the professional response is this really fast, super thorough 3-step process. Step 1 is assessment and extraction. Find the source, stop it, figure out how bad the damage is, and immediately get all that standing water out. Step 2, and this is the most critical part, is structural drying. We're not just talking about wiping surfaces, we're talking about specialized equipment to literally pull trapped water out from deep inside your walls and floors. And finally, step 3 is verification, using scientific meters to prove everything is completely dry before any repairs even start. And look, this is not a job for a shop vac and some old towels. Professionals bring in a toolkit that honestly looks like something from a science fiction movie. We're talking powerful truck-mounted extractors that suck out gallons of water, thermal imaging cameras that can actually see hidden moisture inside walls. Then you have these massive industrial-grade dehumidifiers and high-speed air movers that create a vortex of dry air. And of course, moisture meters to confirm with data when the job is actually done right. Now, this is absolutely crucial to understand. Not all water is created equal. Professionals classify it into 3 categories. Category 1 is clean water, like from a burst supply pipe. Category 2 is gray water, which has some contaminants. Think of an overflowing dishwasher. And Category 3 is black water. This is the bad stuff, grossly contaminated water from sewage or floodwaters. The category dictates the entire safety plan and cleanup process. All right, so after the emergency is over, the final phase is all about getting your life back to normal. And just as importantly, making sure this never, ever happens again. It's about a lot more than just drying things out. And here's a really key distinction that a lot of people get mixed up on. Water damage restoration versus water damage repair. They are not the same thing. Restoration is the emergency service. It's the science of extracting water and drying the building to stop the damage from getting worse. Repair, on the other hand, is what happens after everything is verified as dry. That's when you replace drywall, fix the floors, and paint. Basically, restoration stops the bleeding, repair stitches up the wound. So, if there's just one single thing you take away from all this, please let it be this. This quote sums up the entire situation perfectly. Every single hour you wait lets the damage spread, lets the costs go up, and makes the risk of secondary problems like mold an absolute certainty. Speed is everything, period. And all of this really leaves us with one final, pretty important question. You know, we all spend time preparing for fires or big storms, but statistically, water damage is one of the most common threats to any home. So, knowing what you know now about that 48-hour clock, is your home truly prepared?